Okay, boom, we're live. I think the screenshot for this for this video is pretty ridiculous. But Merry Christmas, Happy Early New Year's, all those fun things to the Bear family. We did a video last night, and because the internet was so shoddy, it actually ended up only posting the last 2 seconds of the video because the internet had connected and disconnected and then reconnected again. It thought that the last portion of the video was the only part of the video that there was. So there was a video that had over 600 views of me singing a song about how how we don't like the internet when the internet is slow. We only like it when it's fast. So it was one of those moments. I remember, for those of you that have been with the Arcane Bear family for quite a while, about a year ago, the internet was going in and out of my house, and we had the same thing happen. And there's there was a video of me that got over 600 views of me just going, fuck, screw this, like, hilarious times, funny times. Nice. These little drops in Bitcoin are reminiscent, I think, of the rest of the global market sentiments. For those of you that did catch the video last night, thank you. I appreciate that. It was nice to go over the dollar. I really wish that one had stayed online because it's kind of a great piece. So maybe I'll try to do something similar again today or tomorrow as time goes on. I'm just getting ready. I'm gonna gear up and fly to Sri Lanka tomorrow, so that's looking exciting. Today's little ranty episode is mostly just a Merry Christmas, thanking all of you at the Bear family for being supportive of these endeavors and the changing content, to constantly showing up and being such brilliant human beings. And I guess I was going to throw in an Ask Me Anything portion to this idea as well. I didn't put anything about cryptocurrency in the title, so I'm sure we'll have a smaller audience than normal, but it'll be more intimate, we'll say. And I know it's probably kind of late in the other side of the world, too. I was up till around 5 a.m. on the phone with one of my best friends and my attorney, so that put me way past the regular sleep hours. But nonetheless, I figured, even though it's kind of late there, it's way later here than it should be for me to wake up, but I figured we'll do it anyways and just see how things go. So my initial market sentiments about all of this, well, let's take a look here. Okay, can I do this with this thing? Yeah, kind of, right? Nice. So here we've got the drop. We're down at 37.53 for Bitcoin on BitMEX right now. Everything is taking a little bit of a beating and a tumble. This is what we expected. You have the global market sentiments are not good. People, this is not a good time. It is an amazing time to be alive, but it's not a good time to be in the markets. And the big boys that have been playing this know that. Now, for those of you that have had the privilege of being around for one or two economic crashes in the past, it's not all that. It's great when we get to the bottom because then you can acquire a lot of distressed assets for really cheap. So for instance, in Costa Rica, there's properties that are for sale now that you could probably get for half price over the next year. So if you have the ability to save your assets and then acquire those distressed assets at the bottom, then you're laughing. But for the majority of the world, they don't have extra assets to be able to go and purchase more during these down times. But I think the global market sentiments are going to push a lot of prices down globally. The other day we looked at the Nikkei, the DAX. The DAX is the German stock exchange. We also looked at some other, the FTSE 100, which is the Great Britain's stock market, and we looked at the Nasdaq, the S&P 500, as well as the Canadian one. What's the Canadian one? The TYSE. Anyways, the point of this is everything's been crashing. I know, let's maybe not put it so abstractly, not crashing, but moving downwards, and that just. This overall is going to put a lot of turmoil into people's lives. Most people, as I said this in my video last night, people are going to be likely finding out that their jobs don't exist anymore, they can't make their house payments or their car payments, and this is disastrous for families and all around the world. It's not just in the United States or in Canada. and not just in Germany or the UK, or I don't know what the Australian stock exchange is, but maybe I'll look that up too. So you guys have some thoughts here. Jeremy says, Merry Christmas. What's your plan today? I have no plan today. Actually, I ordered myself my kind of Christmas coffee special, which is chai tea mixed with espresso. They call it a dirty chai. Merry Christmas to me. I'm a simple man. I don't need to go do anything crazy today. I get to go to Sri Lanka and visit the orphanage over the next few days. We're not going to be able to make it there for Christmas, so what we're going to do is we're going to do probably a mix and belated Christmas visit to the orphanage there. We've got a friend of our friends who's going to do a mural there too, so we're going to be able to help include some art. She's going to be including artistry as a gift to my friends that are getting married. Congratulations to the family that I'm going to visit in Sri Lanka for getting having not a re-wedding, but like another wedding, where they I think that's smart. I think having one wedding is good, but having the same wedding kind of every few years, where you can invite your friends to come over and be supportive of your journey through love. I think that's really smart. Make it kind of a ritual return of. It's a super smart idea. Anyways, so we're headed to Sri Lanka, and that's kind of my Christmas present, I guess, is going to visit the children in the orphanage. I'm really looking forward to that. The last time we did that, man, editing that video made me cry. Like every time, if I watch that video again, I'm like, oh no, like tears are streaming down my eyes. Anyways, that's a side topic. Doing things that make you feel good. Equities will fall tomorrow. Well, so the stock market, I believe, is closed. They only were open for a half day today, depending on where you are. I don't believe that they're open now. So they're going to be closed. I think they're closed for a few days. I mean, this is one of the crazy things about the stock market is in comparison with the crypto world. The crypto world just never sleeps. There's no turning the damn thing off. So you have these waves that come in of the different world markets as people wake up and go to sleep, and it keeps moving. It's a fascinating new form of monetary experiment. That's for absolutely sure. But I wouldn't know. I don't think it's open again tomorrow. So I'm not going to say that they'll fall tomorrow, because I don't even think that they're open. Martin Daly also says Merry Christmas to the Bear family and me. Thank you. I appreciate that. Jonathan Laurie says, hello, do you think the same scenario of last year, people dumping because Xmas cost them buy back, or it's different because of the peer-to-peer market? No, Jonathan, I think what we're seeing here is a much bigger story. The global economic recession is underway, and anyone who's in the trading world sees it now. We're just about to hit the 200 EMA on the monthly chart on the S&P 500. You have stocks like Google, Amazon, Tesla all down between 20 and 40%. That's a big signal in a lot of the big players' minds to go to fiat. Now, again, a lot of people don't recognize the problems in fiat, so the crypto market's not likely going to get a lot of attention. We're probably going to go to similar turmoil as the equity and bond markets, because people just really don't understand that this is a medicine for the problems in fiat, not in the stock market. I mean, technically, yes. Something like Ethereum with some overlays and some UI and UX, and you could tokenize all of these companies' stocks on something like Ethereum and have a peer-to-peer stock market globally that doesn't need a stock exchange, which also doesn't need a ringing bell or any of that ridiculous nonsense. But we don't have that yet, and it's not incorporated, so I don't think people will likely understand that that's even a possibility, let alone that it's designed to replace money too. So it's a very difficult concept. I think everything is going to be in the red in the crypto world for a little while. We might see that bump up to 5,200, like I'd said, for the B wave of this particular section, but it's looking less and less likely. Again, we're currently sitting at 37.59 on Bitcoin, and I've been short on Bcash. For those of you that, please join the Telegram if you haven't joined the Telegram. But I was complaining. I was like, stupid Bcash, I just want to short the damn thing, and well, it came in yesterday. So that was exciting, but you see that ripple effect through most of the peer-to-peer markets as well. Human says OTC markets run out of BTC, please. No, that's almost impossible. Again, guys, Some of these people that have unlocked wallets in the early 2014 days they're bringing 50 to 60,000 Bitcoin online to sell. That's not a small amount of this asset to move, and they're likely going to move it through multiple exchanges, not just OTC but public as well. Kevin B says, do you feel that during these next couple of months, alts will outperform Bitcoin and present swing trade opportunities? I saw a kind of interesting video the other day by another content creator who was charting the dominance of Bitcoin versus the market cap of altcoins. And although I don't necessarily agree with that style of charting, we had done this in the past. We would always be looking for a movement in Bitcoin relative to the movement in the altcoins. So as Bitcoin would go down, the altcoins would go up. Here you have a corollary response. Here, as soon as Bitcoin started to move up, so did everything else. I think the idea is that because, and that's the abstract, that to me is kind of worrisome because it's not what we'd seen for the entire year before. And anytime I see new trends start to emerge, I don't try to ride them because it's inconsistent with the frequency of the trends happening over and over again that we had in the past. So it's difficult to make a guess. Now, some of the gains in the altcoin space have been amazing because of that bounce, but that is likely the same dead cat bounce that you'd seen. So for instance, you've got 120% gain in Bcash, but people don't necessarily stop to do the math and think, Bcash is down from $4,000 at its high to 80 and it went to 200. Nobody cares. That is not a big move. It's a big move relative to where it was, which is amazing. But it's been a long way down for Bcash. And that in itself is rather disturbing. Same with Ethereum, right? Ethereum was at $1,500 at its high, fell to 80, and I don't think it's done necessarily, and then bounced to 150. That's what we call a dead cat bounce. Now, in the crypto space, we have these amazing dead cat bounces because you just fell from $1,500. Whether or not the altcoin market will continue to perform, I think, is yet to be seen. But it's a really, it really comes down to what does Bitcoin do? Because as soon as Bitcoin turned south, so did everything else. And that in itself is not a positive sign for the altcoins because they're falling in corollary, where before they were following as an inverse. People would move as Bitcoin was going down into the other altcoins to ride that wave. And here you see a corollary response in the ecosystem, which means there's probably less people, excuse me, and less money moving around, sloshing around in these waters. So I'm playing it very cautious in this space. I'm like I said, since around 5,600, I've been mostly in fiat, aside from the Bitcoin that I'd originally bought, but I just let it sit there because I don't really care what happens to it. It could go to zero, cool. Could go to $1 million, cool. That's great. Either way, I invested in it not because of I wanted it to make me a bunch of money. I invested in it because I believe we need to have a global monetary revolution, and this was my little way of putting on, let's say, my yellow jacket for Bitcoin or something like this. Let's take a few more of your guys' thoughts and questions. Again, thank you for joining us. Susan for Abundance, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm going to just take your question or your thought right here. Was about to go to bed, got another alert. Have a great day, and thank you for coming on live talk to us. Internet is good now. Yeah, I don't know. Last night it was super clogged up. It's too bad the show didn't make it through. I appreciate you, Susan. Thank you for all of your help and love in the Bear family. Again, for those of you that haven't, please join the Telegram channel. It is an amazing place to have a great conversation with a bunch of well-rounded people. Emilio says, have you ever tried the combo ceremony? It's great for energy and brain power. I have. You know what's funny? I meant to go do combo about 1.5 years ago, and then I was just too busy. I waited. I'm kind of impatient. If you tell me to be somewhere at a certain time, and then you delay me by like 3 hours, I'm not gonna do it. It's like I show up to do the combo ceremony, and they made me wait for like 2 or 3 hours, and I'm like, fuck this. It's not my time, obviously. I'll be back another day when you guys can be on time. Because as a percussionist, as someone that plays music, like if you're out of time all the time, ain't a good sign. I don't care what shaman it is. If you can't be on time, you're not in time, and then you're probably not on the right flow. Because music is like very, very strict in its nature. It's like it doesn't just flow around in space and time. It has a very constructive nature. Actually, that's where And that's where you get the fee ratio and the golden ratio is kind of highlights from. Is here you have this, the feminine version of these ideas that are, quite curvy, but you also have the masculine ideas, which are very sharp edge mathematics. So no, I haven't done short answer. No, I haven't done combo yet, but I did sit to do it. They just delayed me way more than I would ever like. And if for anything, if the dentist delayed me, I'm like, yeah, I'm out of here, dude. Like, not waiting for this right now. Martin Daly says, going to buy gold, silver, and more Bitcoin in 2019. Yes, although I'm not a big fan of gold, other than I do like it as a carry asset, something like wear around my neck or put in a pocket, and bring with me just as a kind of a. Hold on a sec here. Yeah, just as kind of a like a reserve, but that's about it. Gold still hasn't returned to its bottom. I made a video a few weeks ago saying, or maybe a month or two ago now, saying I would suspect gold could go to $600. I still think that's on the table. Thoughts about nano? Nanomolecular particles are really interesting about the currency. Most of them are probably garbage. A good chunk of these companies don't have real use case. I do agree with Tone in that sentiment. Although I don't agree at the large scale, I do believe that decentralization needs a lot of these companies to function. So, for instance, you have something like Power Ledger, which is a way to track the energy system. It's not really designed to be a money. So I see the incorporation of the blockchain in multiple industries, in multiple spaces, etc., and companies that will build and use these platforms. Like you've got IBM's Hyperledger and all this crap. But what that means in a market, it's very hard to say. The fact that they haven't called Ripple a security yet, and they've been moving to the reason they're writing laws that say that cryptocurrencies aren't a security because they know that Ripple is. Ripple is most definitely a security by all eyes and measures, right? People are speculating on it as an investment possibility, and they don't understand anything about investing because they think. Anyways, that's a whole nother side topic. So I think that the governments are coming out a little bit more relaxed about these topics because they realize if they do, they're going to have to take down some of the big boys. And that's always a dangerous sentiment because people will just go build somewhere else. And that's a very real story. Even the scams, they'll just go build somewhere else. It's not like you still get emails from the Nigerian princes, right? So John F says it's a big move if you went long at 80. Yes, no, I no, I absolutely agree. That's what I said. There was a big move in the space relative to where it is now, but it's a long, long ways down from where it was, which puts a lot of downward pressure on it still. So that having 100% dead cat bounce, that's amazing relative to where it is, but not to where it was, which is I think a more important part of the conversation because everyone's looking at the history of the data on a long term. Most people will scroll out from the screen that have been in this space for a long time and go, oh, it's all the way down from $1,500, and try to make a bit more of an asserted entry point. So I think we still have a lot of new money, even if it is institutional. It's new institutional money. A lot of these old family offices that have called and messaged us for insight into this space, they're very weary. A lot of these big companies are looking at how they can use blockchain for supply management and tracking their products and stuff, but they're very weary of it as a money because most people don't understand what's wrong with fiat, and that's like a hard, bitter lesson and pill to swallow. So it's not an easy to come by understanding. The people that joined here just to make money don't understand why something like Bitcoin is so much more valuable than something like Ripple. It's mostly a conversation about education. People need to know what's wrong before they can become healthier. Anyways, that's a side topic. Blank Bruno says, Merry Christmas, Tio, and happy Christmas Eve. The stock market drop was the worst in history. Any thoughts on how this extreme event will affect cryptos, especially Bitcoin, and opportunity for cryptos, and the cryptos will follow? Or will the cryptos follow it down? So in my last videos, I've been sharing the sentiment here, Blank. I believe that because of the overall sentiments in the global market, the fact that maybe 1 or 2% of the entire world's population know about Bitcoin and or own it, which is a very, very small percentile of the world's population, it's likely that we won't get a lot of bleed over because most of the people that are going to be moving from the traditional market and assets are going to be moving into fiat so that when the market hits the bottom, they can buy more properties, buy more businesses, and buy more stocks. That's been the standard route of etiquette for the last 60 years. So people are going to go with what they know. For instance, the combustion engine hasn't changed all that much aside from now we have electric cars. So the combustion engine has stayed the same pretty much since we invented it, aside from a few of the technical standards. So even though people might be investing in more technical stocks as what they think when they get to the bottom, this is unprecedented because we're having a global economic recession, which means every stock market around the world is starting to go. It's you're going to see bursts of currencies that start to fail too, just like what happened in Venezuela. You're going to see maybe Italy's dollar starts to break, and then maybe it'll be Turkey's dollar that breaks even more. So I think you're going to see a kind of a slow breakdown fall through multiple governments, through multiple countries that inevitably aren't going to figure out that crypto is the answer until they realize that the fiat money is the problem. Now, the stock market crashing doesn't really alert anyone that fiat money is the problem because most people don't recognize that the reason we had a 10-year bull market is because they've been printing money at a massive rate for the last 10 years to get us here. So even though we are well aware of the problems, not everybody is. And there's many sentiments around this type of thought pattern too. But basically, I do think that the corollary response is negative for the crypto space as well, because as people go into survival mode, they're going to be less likely to want to speculate on a speculative asset. So I do think that we will move down further because everyone's going to be going into survival mode, and those that aren't are going to be holding on to something like fiat, thinking that they can buy at the bottom, and they may very well, but I think there's going to be a very short time switch when we get to the bottom that the dollar starts to fail as well. I charted the dollar last night, and maybe I'll do it again tomorrow. But if you look at the multi-year trend for the dollar, it's been on a downward wedge, and it's about to hit the top of the triangle of the downward wedge around 98 points. If it hits that and turns, that's bad news for the dollar because that means it can drop to even new all-time lows. But that's good news for the emerging markets because if the dollar weakens and the other currencies are also weakening, they're going to look like they have strength for another year. So this process isn't going to be fast because it's an around the world awakening to the problems of fiat. Hopefully, that's what we can hope this is that people understand that if your governments just print money and they then lend it to you and you have to work for it, you're getting screwed over, right? So Ripple doesn't solve any of those problems. I have to consistently repeat this. None of those currencies solve that problem. A lot of the proof of work currencies can. One of the things I don't necessarily agree with Tone is just having one currency. It doesn't make sense, or one language. You know, we have instant translators. Like I can talk to my phone and it will speak back in Thai or any other language on the planet almost very quickly. So I think it's very easy to see that something like atomic swaps would take the place of that. If Bitcoin becomes a global remittance, it could be worth trillions of dollars, which means you could use other things like Litecoin or any of the other ones too. I mean, I'm not highlighting Litecoin here. It's just the first thing that came to mind. Any of the other ones across something like a smart contract basis through an atomic swap for the remittance, so that you didn't have to do it on. Anyways, becomes a long conversation about the cables of commerce that run between countries and how people choose. And I hope this is it. How people choose the brands of money that they want to use. I think money should be more like sunglasses. I think you should be able to pick the company that you want to work with, that you want to invest in, whatever it might be, and use their money because you like their team, you like their coding, whatever it might be, and just really give you more freedom of choice instead of just being forced to use whatever paper dollar they have in every country that you go to. I think that's a better situation. So that's one of the areas where I disagree with Tone. I think that the choice to use whatever currency is at your disposal is probably the best way to go because it just means more freedom. Having only one choice is not more freedom. It may seem like it because then everyone speaks the same language, but it's better just to have instant translators and to be able to communicate with each other even though we have different sentiments of value. Anyways, that's that thought there. So I do believe everything will continue to go down, but that's just conjecture. None of this is investment advice. Let's see here. Jake Spark Spack says, "Do you know anyone, power small mining rig with solar panels, mining cheap energy cost bros?" No, I have solar panels on my property, but I don't mine. I tried to get one set up before I left, but I couldn't. That's a long story. Arcane Bear, who introduced you to Bitcoin? Okay, so I kind of roughly explained what happened to Tone the other day. So I was working at a marketing and advertising agency, and they were, and I was, were using Bitcoin to pay for servers. So the servers that we were buying for some reason only accepted Bitcoin. I don't remember why that was in the case, but it was very easy for us to do because they bought through an exchange. Um, and then would send the Bitcoin to pay for the servers for a yearly subscription. Maybe that's what it was. If you paid in Bitcoin for the yearly subscription, you got a significant discount or something like this. I forget exactly what it was, why they were doing it, but it was Bitcoin was around $90. So at that time, because I was helping them buy it, I acquired myself a few. Now over there was like a year period. As I told Tone, this part of my life is I was taking a lot of psychedelics, so it kind of blurs into one beautiful rainbow-colored imagery for almost the entire year. Because even when the Cyprus banks started to take away people's money, I remember Bitcoin being at $90 and then being at $1,300. I don't remember a whole lot in between that. I'm not blaming it on anything. I'm just letting you guys know what I was going through. So I was living in Guatemala at that time, as well, taking psychedelics, living in a beautiful 3-bedroom house. I had my own private dock. The house ran on solar. We had 6 acres of coffee farm. It was a beautiful place, but I definitely was not paying attention very much to like the asset world. But as it started to go up, I got excited. I bought maybe one or two more at around $1,300, and then it came all the way down. I didn't actually end up acquiring more until 2015 or 16, yeah, last year. God, the years just blend into one beautiful imagery. But basically, when Bitcoin was around between $400 and $600, and all my friends in Costa Rica, they'll remember these moments because I was screaming at them to buy Bitcoin too. And when Ethereum was at like $5 or $6, so I started to acquire more again around the $400 to $600 range because I saw that we were going up to retest that line, and I saw an easy doubling. I'm like, oh, if we're going to go back to at least retest the highs, we can get twice as much here. And then I was in for one hell of a surprise when we ran all the way to $20,000. So that was between, let's see, just September of 2016 and March 2017. This is when I started to acquire more. It's also when we started the Arcane Bears like YouTube channel. So there's two points of acquisition between $90 and $1,300. I grabbed a few at 90. I grabbed a few at around 1,000, and then once it fell back down, I was like, oh, okay. I waited it out until I saw the move start to come up again, and then I went in. Anyways, and that brings us to today. So what year would that have been? Between 2012 and 2013, between $90 and the $1,100 mark. So it was a mixture of the 2 years. But that was my first year of understanding Bitcoin. It happened so fast too to see those moves. Bitcoin's starting to go down again from 4,000. Yeah, as you can see in the background here, it's currently sitting at 37.67. Again, I think that we're going to have a negative corollary downtrend, but that's just my conjecture. Would you sell crypto? Would you sell gold and silver for crypto? Okay, so here's an interesting question, and I think that these types of questions need to be addressed. No, I did that last year when Bitcoin was cheap, but now I wouldn't do it just because of the complex situation and the economic structure. It'd be like asking me, would I sell my property for Bitcoin? It's like, that might be a great investment, but I'm not really... That extra money that it might bring into my life doesn't make a difference. I love growing pineapples. I love that I have my own private well. I love that I've got solar, that I can grow cacao, ayahuasca, mimosa, hostilis, all these beautiful plants. That means more to me than money. So even though I could sell my house for property as an asset to buy a shit ton of Bitcoin, it wouldn't make a difference to me because I appreciate... my wealth, most of it comes from nature. Like when I stop in the jungle when I'm walking and I listen to the ants and I smell the rain, money doesn't change that. So why the hell would I want more of it and trade some of the simple things in life that I love so dearly for an asset. It doesn't make any sense. The asset to me is the ability to enjoy life as it is, not to chase it, not to run around, because no matter where you go, there you are. So I found the simple natural life that makes me feel richer, and I dive into it further and further. Oh, the JSE, is that the Japanese stock exchange? You guys can let me know. LA Token Exchange seems not to be responding. I was never a big fan of the token. I don't know them very well. Ripple is a Trojan horse. Yeah, I would agree with that sentiment. It's disguised as a cryptocurrency when it has none of the valuable features that any of the others do. Like, oh, it's faster. It's like, oh, you guys are morons, aren't you? And I don't mean to call anyone a moron. If I was doing that too, it would mean that I missed the initial underlying value of what this premise was all about, investing simply because I thought speed was the case. It's like, oh yeah, this is a wicked fast car. It's like this is this this is not a fast car racetrack though. Anyways, I don't know. You guys all know my sentiments about Ripple. And you can make money off a bunch of this stuff, but that's not why I invested in this space. I invested in this space because we can make the world a better place by empowering others with a decentralized money, not by empowering the banks with a centralized money. Again, so Ripple's garbage in comparison. People just don't understand what's wrong in the monetary system. They just want more of the same problem. It's kind of silly, really. Do you have any targets for Digibyte? No, I have no targets for anything until I feel that we found a bottom on Bitcoin, and I don't feel that we've found that yet. If that was the V bottom of Bitcoin, that's amazing. Cool, we found it. But I don't think that we did, not with all this overlying market sentiment. It just doesn't look healthy. It's not healthy for the speculative market assets. Do you think the dollar will crash within the next bull market? They have no firing powder to print more dollars to make the market go up again. So I do believe that after this market crash is the end of the dollar. So that's likely where we'll see massive moves in the crypto space, but not till after the stock market crash, which is going to bring a lot of pain unto itself, let alone the crash of the dollar. And I think you're going to see other currencies around the world crash first. So to keep an eye on the emerging markets to see what happens, I think that will make a really, really big impact on the rest of the story. Tim Mosley says, "What's up, T.O.? Just saw your live. Wanted to wish you and the Bear family a Merry Christmas." Thank you. I appreciate that. Merry Christmas to all the Bear family. Again, thank you guys for joining us, for diving through these conversations, always asking such great questions. It's such an interesting time to be alive. As much as it is exciting, it's scary, and I think that really drives home some of the valuable points about life too, is that these are the medicines for the sick times, and we're getting closer and closer to them. So as much as it was fun to be right, it's not a good sign. So Jonathan Laurie says, if you had $5,000 to spend on crypto, which coin would you buy? Monero Zcash or Bitcoin Cash? I wouldn't buy any of them right now necessarily, because I think we might be at the top of or getting close to the top of a dead cat bounce now. I could be wrong, but that's why none of this is trading advice. But me personally, I still believe with all the negative market sentiments, we've got further down to go. Valhalla Metal says Binance is creating a decentralized exchange, and it's going to be a game changer. BNB will be used for gas. See, I don't think companies like Binance will make it into the future. Them with their token that they've just created out of nothing. You're going to see companies that will probably overtake Binance's decentralized exchange when people realize that they're being ripped off from the same fee, right? So why would you pay a fee when we can build a better UI and UX that doesn't have that fee? In terms of its relationship for trading. So it'll be interesting to see, because Binance token is just it's not mined. It's like it's an ERC20 token. Maybe they'll build their own blockchain, but even still, decentralized exchanges wouldn't be. That's a very centralized format still. So I think if they can pull it off, that'll be cool. I mean, I underestimated the Binance token before. I bought it at like 30 cents and then sold it at $9. I'm like, wow, this is amazingly high. And then it went to 30. I was like, oh, well, I was wrong. It did a lot better than I thought it would. Do you like XVG? I believe that's Verge. Don't know a whole lot about it, so no. Most of the other crypto assets, I am in line with Tone. I don't buy them because I think I like them. I buy them because they're speculative assets, and I see quick profit flips from low volume market sentiments into higher volume exchanges. But that's about it. I don't touch them because I'm like, oh yes, I love this. I love this token. I'm super invested in it. No, I'm not married to any of them. The only one I've had for a long period of time is Bitcoin. So I don't look at it as a standard of investment for me. I look at this as solely speculative for value flipping. You should read the Bitcoin Standard. Yeah, we've been trying to get Safiedin, I don't know how to pronounce his name, on the show, so we'll continue to try to do that. Do you still take psychedelics? I have around 3 kilograms of San Pedro in my fridge that was given to me. So yes, I do, but in small doses. I like a daily small dose of something like that. It helps brighten my day. Ali says, I love hearing your story. Well, I love sharing it, apparently. I'm a ranter for sure. So thank you guys for listening and joining in the conversation. Otherwise, I'm just some crazy person talking to myself all the time, right? Did you get out at all at the top, or you just been hodling? No. So I've been telling the Bear family what what I essentially do. I take exits, and I usually take around 3 to 6 months of what I consider salary out at a time, because I do need to operate my regular businesses, etc. The only time I exited most of my positions was around $5,600 because there's just way too much room for downside in terms of where we had found stability. So that's a different story. I hadn't done that at all up until recently, just because of the downside sentiment. So I don't hodl. I do look for tops to exit my positions to pay myself, essentially, because I still need to keep living life and building my other businesses. But I'm not a hodler. Well, that's not entirely true. The initial assets that I did buy, I hodl those because I don't really care. But everything else that I put into the play, I don't hodl. I move that into what I would consider my salary. Do you expect it to drop more? Yes. We're at 37.74 right now, just touching the first 9-day EMA. Again, the big market sentiments are going to be difficult to overrun. Mimi says crypto is dead. Well, Mimi, you have no idea what you're talking about. That's fun though. I love that. Means there's so much to learn, Mimi. You have so much to learn. That's an exciting and fascinating story you have ahead of you. De Glado says, what will be the trigger and it will finally kill all the other altcoins? I think I don't think that they're all going to die. I think because there's a lot of use cases for having multiple currencies, especially multiple decentralized currencies. It's positive to have more, not 2,500 like we have right now, most of which are garbage, based on the Ethereum blockchain that have no real purpose. But we need more than one, because if you only have one, there's no choice, and that represents less freedom to me. So I believe that there needs to be the freedom of choice in this space too. So I wouldn't say there'd be a trigger that kills all of them, but I think we're in the trigger mode now, which is going to kill a lot of them, hopefully. Because that just means we're clearing out the market, getting rid of all the pets.coms, the guys that won't make it through. Best book on, you say mediation, but I'm sure you're saying meditation. I think that differs for everyone. Everyone has different forms of meditation. For me, I love playing music. Like the drum kit, I think is the best form of meditation. So get a book about learning how to drum, and then grab yourself a drum and start playing music. That's probably the most empowering form of meditation that I've ever come across is music. Do you buy gold and silver? Robert S., no, I don't buy it anymore. I'm sitting on the initial gold and silver I bought in 2014 and 15. But that's it. Most of it I sold actually for BTC in 2016, 17 there. John F. says, you sound very hippie or left-leaning, or are you very sympathetic to libertarian values as well? Yeah, I grew up as a libertarian, studying the straw man theory, all the problems with the banks and the governments. I don't think hippie is the right terminology. I love growing plants, but there's a big difference between me and a hippie. I love working. I love capitalism. So very big separators between what the standard hippie is and the kind of work that I like to do. So I wouldn't put myself in the hippie area. Left-leaning, I don't like to subjugate people by their mindsets. And if you want to look at it maybe from a more brain, I'm a right brain person, which means I'm more creative, I'm more dreamy, I'm more imaginative. So That it's actually the right brain that does that, but it appears this is the left side. Anyways, it's a whole other standpoint of conversation. I find it fascinating that people across political platforms can be heavily into BTC, but entirely for different reasons. Yeah, I mean, the Bitcoin solves a lot of problems in the political space as well, right? Because now no one has central control or authority over the monetary system. And that itself has been heavily politicized over the last few years, especially the money printing aspects for government lending. Jake's back says, Merry Christmas, Tio. XRP is garbage. Do you think we can trust Ledger Nano or other hardware wallets to safely store our assets? And is there a crypto-backed debit card you could recommend? So the crypto-backed debit cards have had a hard time. They used to function very easily up until I think they started to realize that they were competition. So I'm not going to get into that. I used to use WireX. If you happen to be a European citizen, WireX is a great way to go. So I'd suggest them. Anyone else? No. I just do large OTC exchanges. So for those of you that are interested and need to move crypto into fiat or large scale fiat into crypto, go to arcanebear.com. Under resources, you can go to Bitcoin OTC. We're starting to partner with companies to help people move large amounts in and out. Just because it's a lot easier for, like I said, I try to take out a salary function, like a quarterly salary at a time. So it's best not to do it pinching pennies. It's okay, wait for a moment, sell it here, wire transfer to this corporation. It's a really easy, streamlined process. So that's what I'd recommend in terms of selling assets or buying assets in large. Like say you want to buy 1,000,000 Tron or something, that's how you would do it. And you don't get any slippage that way. You can put in a nice buy order, wait for it to click. Do you think we can trust hardware wallets like Ledger Nano? Yeah, I believe so. The best way, again, is to just hold your private keys because even if the Ledger Nano breaks down, you can just buy a new one and upload it. So the ledgers are very, very safe in terms of third-party liability because you hold the ledger, you hold that liability. If you lose that ledger, it doesn't really matter because you own the private keys still. So that's important. You still have the private keys. As long as you write them down, you save that, you can re-upload those wallets. I believe you can even do it cross-wallet, although I haven't tried that. I'm sure someone that knows has tried it can correct me on that one. Ali says, what is the platform you recommend purchasing on versus Coinbase? OTC desks. So again, if you go to arcanebear.com, resources, go to the OTC exchange, you could sign up, you get a private broker. If you want to buy a large amount and not incur slippage charges, that's the best way to go. Again, and that way you can stay under the radar because the banks they're not giving you a receipt or a wire transfer exchange that says, hey, this is a crypto thing. It just says brokerage exchange. These guys have won awards in the fintech space. So we partnered with Caleb Brown to help customers move assets around. So they're essentially the OTC desk that you can purchase smaller rounds, $5,000 with them as well. But it's just a much more efficient way to go. So I wouldn't even touch Coinbase anymore. It's like more user friendly. But if you already know a little bit about the space and you know that you want to buy and sell, I would just go directly to an OTC desk. So you can find all that information on the Arcane Bear website. You can sign up to them. We've got an express verification. You have to go through all the KYC and AML because they are a fully regulated bank. They've got no intermediaries, like I said, so everything happens smoothly. They don't have crypto attached to their name at all. It's brilliant. So for any of you that were having troubles doing that, that's a great way to go. HR77 says, I think Arcane Bear has picked up some of the best parts of both the liberal and conservative minds. So this is, again, come down to the conversation, I think, of the left and the right brain. Like the hemispheres of the brain are cut into two halves, basically. One which is very logical and one which is very emotional. And you want to have a nice balanced center between those two to really enjoy, I think, the depths of life that are possible. So that's important. Temple races. I hope Bitcoin and crypto market goes lower. Yeah, I think a lot of people are interested in that as well because this means we can acquire more. Singapore is soon to buy Binance. I'm not sure about that. Although Singapore is a very intelligent, strategic place for somewhere like Binance to be. So if they were going to do a buyout sale like that, it would probably be mostly as a guise for something. It wouldn't be in reality. Corporations do that all the time, actually. I forget what it's called. basically what they'll do is they'll have a parent company from a different country buy out this company for nothing, essentially, because it's not a real buyout. All they're doing is moving the corporation into a different jurisdiction. It's not a real buyout. It's not this. It's not like you're saying where a company in Singapore is going to buy Binance. They're likely doing that for tax laws and jurisdiction laws based around that company and corporation's ability to operate, which is becoming more and more difficult in different countries. So. Any thoughts on holochain? No, no thoughts. I'm not touching or looking at almost anything until I think we're at the bottom, and I would suspect that 2,500 to 2,800 is the next area that we find support and resistance. I Money Changer says I appreciate much of your work and I agree on a lot of it. I think you'd appreciate my work too. Cool. Money Changers. I actually think I've looked at your website once or twice. Along the way. Again, I'm super busy with some of the impact marketing stuff I'm working on. It's where I put all my time, love, and energy. So I don't pay too much attention to the crypto markets right now. I've got a few businesses. Some of you had asked, okay, well, I own a healthy beverage company in Costa Rica. We're in 6 stores all around Costa Rica now. We're about to be in 12 probably by the middle of the year. Apparently I rent my house out on an Airbnb now too, which is pretty cool. I had someone book that this morning. It's kind of fun. Never rented out my house before. I also have, there's a marketing company I'm building in the background, which some of you know about if you're in the Telegram channel, and the Arcane Bear, which was originally just a pet project, but has become one of my full-time jobs, all the communication and chatting with you guys here. Do you love Jesus? Jesus is my gardener, man. I pay that guy on a monthly basis to take care of my garden while I'm gone, so you can be damn sure I love Jesus. Merry Christmas, Jesus. Hope you're having a great time with your family. In terms of the story, no, not at all. I've done way too much math and science to believe a BS story about something that has a much bigger overarching presence to it than some person being the son of God. Just do if you're good at math, you can find it very, very easily, but most people just don't care to look. Nate says, do you think Brock should be in jail? I have no idea why you'd say that. I did look a little bit further into some of Brock's past with my attorney last night, and although it's a little it's peppered, we'll say, part of the question comes down to, I know that if I was a child movie star and I had grown up in that space, it might not have been the healthiest space for him to be growing up in, and it's amazing that he's come out on the other side. A lot of, like, if you look at some of the stories, like of Corey Feldman, the Macaulay Culkin, these kids didn't come out like unscathed from their work in the movie industry. So I'm not going to place the blame on the people that were children growing up in this space. I would actually be a little bit more sentimental towards their growth in there, because it probably wasn't easy. It was probably peppered with a lot of unsavory things that they had nothing to do with. So it's a really difficult concept and question to ask if that's what you're leaning into. Other than that, I'm not sure what your direct question would be there on why that would be the case. What blockchain applications do you see being the biggest game changers as first to be adopted by the larger audience? Well, hopefully Bitcoin. dApps won't make any difference until people want to use them, and the tech world hasn't figured out how to be social yet. That's why people like the crypto content creators are so important. We really represent a bridge between tech people that don't know how to talk. And I'm not saying Roger Ver doesn't know how to talk, but he's not it's not a personable person. Like, he pretends to be. He shares quotes of other people that are smarter than he is, and he pretends to be that's him, but it's not. It's like, okay, cool, you're just sharing quotes. I do that too. I share quotes too, guy. That doesn't mean those are my sentiments. All you're doing is repeating things from memory. It has nothing to do with you. Try being a real human baby. The only quote I remember by Roger Ver is something about killing babies. So good job, Roger. So no, I think a big important part about the adoption to the larger audience here is about the social impact cases in the blockchain space, which is what we hope to provide. It's one of the reasons why we're going to be going to orphanages and wildlife conservation efforts, is because we need to reface what capitalism looks like, and it has nothing to do with the blockchain. It has everything to do with the way we build businesses and educate people around the world. It is a much deeper sentiment than just blockchain. It is an entire global restructuring of business that we need to put into place. Otherwise, we're going to run out of time very quickly to enjoy this planet. How many months do you think the bear market will last for? I speculated around a year or two in when I said November last year. So we're just into a year now. So I would suspect another 6 to 9 to 12 months of bear market before we see an actual turnaround. Your thoughts on WAN chain interoperability of connecting all chains? Again, some of this stuff is really interesting in concept. I don't know enough about the tech to look at it and see if it's functional and how it would function. Although I do see an importance of the interoperability, like between TCP/IP and SMTP and the IMAP and the POP3 protocols. But that was all relatively easy for the internet to adopt. And once it did, it found one standard very quickly. And everything else is built over top of that in UI and UX development layers. Bitcoin Wisdom. Oh, nice. Bitcoin Wisdom gets a shout out today for leaving us a super chat of $5. I appreciate that. I always like these highlighted comments, not because you guys give me money, but it just makes them easier to find and read. If YouTube makes them like this big noticeable sentiment on my screen. So he says, that's exciting and fascinating story you have in front of you. Oh, nice. You gave me money just for my quote about learning. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm trying to find a way to be more supportive of people in their growth instead of smash them, because I really only want to smash the ideas. So if we're all learning, we're all growing. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, but that's also how I've learned how to be somewhat successful, is because those mistakes help redirect the storyline to make successful choices instead of choices that aren't successful. So I appreciate that. Bitcoin Wisdom, I love that you found that funny. Cyranification says, I see you as a creative opportunist. Yeah, I called it an adventurepreneur or adventure capitalism. My peers call it sacred capitalism, or Buddha called it right livelihood. It's just about realizing that you can make money from doing the things that you love. If you like making shoes, make shoes your whole life. Enjoy the process. And maybe you can do really well in life doing that because you're passionate about what you're building. It's not just about the money. I think it's a very important part of life is pursuing creative endeavors that drive you philosophically, so that you can, if you're going to make money, you're at least happy and fulfilled with purpose and meaning during that process, because money does not bring any of those things. Money does not bring purpose and meaning into your life. It can create a stature of behavior, but it doesn't mean that you are rich in character or wealthy in mindset. Chaotic says, what's your thoughts on Bitcoin? Oh, well, I'm a huge Bitcoin fanboy, obviously. Let's leave it at that. Have you ever read Carlos Castaneda's books? Yes. What was the one that I really enjoyed? His famous book. I don't even remember the name right now. The Teachings of Don Juan. That's what it was. Great book. I read, even if it is just fiction, there's a lot of it that's sentimentally true. Temporary says China's New Year may make crypto prices go lower. Maybe. They always have an interesting time off. How large is large for OTC? So I know with our partners, I'm going to try to have Dr. Prash, the CEO of Caleb and Brown, on the show soon. I've been meaning to do that. But anywhere between 100 to 500 million would be considered a large OTC trade. Chaotic says, is this about stocks and currency or Christmas related stuff? I don't know what that question means. It's about everything. Everything is about everything. You can't separate one portion of life from another. If you try to compartmentalize everything, you'll never see the true story. That's my belief. You got to see it as a unified story. Otherwise, it just doesn't make anywhere near as much sense. So I thank you guys for joining us on this Christmas day here in Malaysia. I love answering these questions, so I'm just going to stay online and rant with you guys. I'll just go until I feel tired and confused of talking. But so I'll see how far we can go down this wild and crazy road together. How low will we go before the next bull run? No one can answer that question specifically, but the lower target. So our first low target we hit and we cut through, and then we bounced up, and we found a lot of resistance up here around the $4,200 area. We couldn't break through that multiple times. We tried to hit it multiple times. Not a good sign. So I would suspect $2,500 to $2,800 is the next area of support and resistance, and then below that, around $800 to $1,600 is the next massive area of support and resistance. So it really comes down to the level of sentimental distress in the overlying ecosystems as we move forward into 2019. So that's a hard question to answer. Jake Spack says, because of the finite nature of crypto, do you think the mass wealth transfer will lead to a larger wealth gap and more feudal society? Look, Jake, this is a question let's take it from a different standpoint. Let's just go from the musical standpoint. If you're a good musician, like a good musician, even like remotely good, you're probably in the top 1% of the world's best musicians, because that means there's about 120 million of you. It's very easy to make it into the top 1% when most people don't care about learning how to play music. And that goes with wealth as well. A lot of people are not concerned with just having a bunch of money. They're concerned about their family. They're concerned about more important things than money. So it's this wealth gap that you're talking about, I think, has been confused, and it's used as propaganda because there's a lot of people that have very little and might look poor to someone that's got $1 billion, but they're much richer in their life because of their connection to nature, their connection to family, connection to chopping firewood or growing food, and like watching the chickens. So I think the wealth gap needs to be looked at more in a mindset reference, because there are a lot of people that have very little that are way wealthier than the people that have a lot. And that's a conversation that just isn't being had, and it should be. So no, I don't think so. I think the top 1% of the wealthiest people probably don't even have that much money, because the wealth that's truly valuable is an internal wealth. It's like an inheritance of self and spirit, has nothing to do with money. So this whole monetary wealth idea is only valuable to a point. Now the downside is these people that are in that position end up looking for power and control, and then they're being manipulative and kind of sociopathic. So it's dangerous, because if you give people like that governmental powers, then they start to manipulate other people. It's just a downward spiral for wealth and power. I agree with Temple Ray here. Says, I don't think BACT is going to be a big deal. I agree. In the bear markets, news doesn't matter. In a bull market, news doesn't matter. So it doesn't really matter about BACT. I agree. I've said that for months. What kind of healthy beverages do you make? We make natural ginger tonics and root beers. So all natural ingredients from Costa Rica. Samantha Jane, I don't agree with you here about money flowing into cryptos from a crashing stock market, because fiat money hasn't crashed. Shortage of precious metals hasn't happened. I can go buy gold right now. Nothing's to stop me from doing that. I think that's just a bunch of hype from the people that are selling gold. Like, I can go buy gold. Sure, I can't go buy a lot of it, but you can't go buy a lot of something unless you go to something very specific. Like, say I want to buy 100 kilograms of rice. Like, I can't just go to my regular store and do that. Like, I would buy them all out. So it's just about appearance and perception. Money, I don't think, will flow into cryptos right now. It's a speculative asset until money crashes, and money is not crashing right now in any way, shape, or form. Not yet. And when it does, it's not something to be excited about. So even when we start to see that happen, it's like, it's a good thing because we know that it needs to happen, but it's not a good thing for the rest of the world that's going to have to go through the growing pains. Frank Garcia says, do you see blockchain being good for anything at all other than transferring wealth from one person to another? Blockchain is going to be used in a lot of spaces, not just blockchain, but decentralized consensus ledger systems. So there's a bunch of ways to solve that problem now that we realize that you can solve that problem. So let me make a rough comparison here. We didn't think that you could run a mile under a certain period of time for a very long time. It was like almost 100 years where no one could beat, I forget exactly what mile it was, what time it was. But as soon as we beat it, we just kept beating it. Right? So now that we've solved the Byzantine generals problem, we realize that there's a bunch of other ways to solve that problem. So blockchain, or at least the essence of distributed consensus, can be solved in a bunch of other ways. Bitcoin in itself is specifically good for value transfer because of the length, the history, and the value of the transaction ledger, whereas new tokens won't be able to catch up ever. They just don't have the history. And so it's a very interesting conversation because most of it has to do with the philosophy of perception of value. People think it's about tech. It's not. It has nothing to do with technology. It has everything to do with the human's brain about perception of value, or heart. Let's say the human's heart about the perception of value. That's why family is often is so important and will outweigh money. So I don't agree with this. It says no ICOs are working. Look, this is a part to anything in business. Most businesses will fail, right? So one of the reasons why equity funds that go investing in companies, they'll invest in 100 companies and they need 10 to work for them to make their flip, because 10 out of 100 is enough to do the big play. So Samantha Jane says, is Arcane Bear in Costa Rica? Well, the Arcane Bear Cave is in Costa Rica. That's where my permanent home base is. That's where I've been living for the last almost eight years in Central America, 9 years, 10 years. But currently I'm in, this is Malaysia behind me. Can you see that? And over this way too. So I'm in Malaysia right now. I fly to Sri Lanka in a few days. Just a temporary. I'll probably spend a month in Thailand before going back home to Costa Rica. I really miss my puppy. I really miss growing the pineapples and watching my garden and harvesting lettuce and shit like this. So what are your views on regulation in cryptos? I hate regulation. I think it's the opposite of what we need to do. For instance, people are like, oh, you need to stop all the people from scamming people and blah, 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 like BitConnect. It's like, look, if you're dumb enough to buy into BitConnect, that should be just a lesson for you. You don't need someone to come in and buffer stupid, right? For instance, let's take the McDonald's coffee cup as an example. This is our analogy. They didn't need to write on it, oh, the coffee's hot, for the idiots that are going to burn themselves and then sue McDonald's. The problem here is we've created buffers for stupidity, and it doesn't lead to more critical thinking. Of course, coffee is hot. It better be. It better be hot. Otherwise, I don't want it. Unless I'm in somewhere that's extremely hot, then I want an iced coffee. And if I spill an iced coffee, I'm not going to sue anyone. So it comes down to, are we going to continue to build buffers for stupidity, or do we let stupidity find its own course, just the way nature did? So it's a very difficult conversation, because we're talking about letting people learn on their own, which they should be allowed to do, and the free market should also go for another direction. I think that the people that run ExxonMobil and BP Oil for destroying the lands in Peru should have their heads on the chopping block. This is not, oh, you get a $50,000 fine. No, we should be executing CEOs for ruining land and human resources for generations to come. It is unacceptable. We have our values all mixed up. Moral and law do not function well together because we don't have any relationship to what real justice is anymore. So that's a very deep question about regulation in cryptos. I'm anti-regulation. I think people need to learn through mistakes. If you try to buffer them from the mistakes, all you're doing is causing less room for critical thinking to actually be enacted. Do you think Bitcoin will go as low as $1,000? There's a lot of evidence to say that it could. Will it? Well, who knows? I don't have a crystal ball. Let me rub my newly grown beard here to let you know. No, there's evidence to say that it could go down to the $1,000 area, yes. Because that's a major area of support and resistance. We're entering into a global economic recession. People aren't going to be speculating on speculative assets. They're going to be moving into fiat. Sadly, if they only knew, they'd be moving into cryptos, but they don't know. They still don't know. If they knew, they would have moved in last year when their pockets were flush from the high 10-year bull market run to begin with. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of evidence to say that we could go that low. Does it bother me? No, I would be super excited. That means that I can get even more. I'd probably sell the truck at that point. Like, cool, selling the truck then to go all in. But that's a different sentiment. Price production on BTC after the holidays is the first. It doesn't really. Oh, price prediction. No, I'm not going to make any predictions. I believe if we continue a down market in the, we're going to find a dead cat bounce probably for the general markets. So you might see that continued bounce to around the $5,200 area to complete the B wave of this downtrend, or the Elliott wave corrective. So I mean, we could see a little bit higher, but if we don't have a dead cat bounce on the stock markets as a whole, and we go right past the 200-day exponential moving average, then no, it's just going to be down, down, down for likely everything, houses, everything. Can you share your morning tea recipe from back home? Yeah. Actually, if you type in turmeric tea and Arcane Bear, I talk about how I make the turmeric tea from the turmeric in the ground. I have to go home, don't I, ladies and gentlemen? We all miss watching the crazy Tarzan version of me growing stuff in the jungle and talking about crypto. I think that there's something very unique about that. I've been trying to build, and I will continue to build the business for marketing that I love so dearly in the background until it works. But I think that the channel does better at my home. I do better at home. I've found home everywhere I go, but it's just harder for me to stay connected to nature when I'm on the road. Like I don't have the opportunity to grow food or to watch the plants grow. Like I mean, there's days I'll spend out in Costa Rica. Where I'll spend like 2 hours just watching a flower, like sway around in the wind. I don't get that here when I'm traveling because there's just too much on the go on the road. So I think I miss a lot of my, like what I consider my true wealth is my appreciation for the small things in life. So I will be heading back to Costa Rica probably near February to dive in there. Samantha Jane wants to know more about the OTC market. We're building and compiling a resource. So if you go to arcanebear.com, resources or services, yeah, services, and then click there, it says market OTC. You can start. We just started writing it the other day. We'll be continuing adding that over the next 2 weeks as we go through more of the processes with some of these companies. What we want to do is try out a few of them and share our experience and kind of like make a list of the top 10, although we do have a list of pretty much every OTC desk you can find there currently. Caleb and Brown is the only one we've partnered with and worked with. I like their private broker exchange. They're very quick to respond. They're extremely professional. They've won awards in the fintech space from their government. They've got a great banking setup, no intermediaries. So I really like Caleb and Brown. I definitely check them out if you need to do large scale transactions and even large scale, I mean, or small scale, even like $5,000, $25,000. They can help you work that in as well. Certification says, may I ask when your birthday is? I'm a spiritual interpreter of sorts. I would love to relocate to Costa Rica. Nice. So two different thoughts there. My birthday is the 11th of March. Yes, the Ides of March. Yep. Costa Rica is a beautiful place. I love it there. Who is more fictional, Jesus or Satoshi Nakamoto? Look, I'm not, in my earlier sentiments, I'm not saying that Yeshua wasn't necessarily an individual, right? Just like Buddha was an individual. But I think the characterization of the story is always hyperbole. Because hyperbole then leads us further into understanding the woo-woo of what we find in physics. Now, in the world of physics, we know that there's layers of the universe that operate on what they call quantum entanglement or spooky actions at a distance. So I think really understanding Yeshua would be more of a fictional character because Satoshi Nakamoto was definitely a person. Who that person was, we don't necessarily know. Same with Jesus or Yeshua, however you want to look at it. But the hyperbole around that character is totally different. Now, which one is more significant in our times? Well, the story of Jesus has totally been washed over. People don't understand the simplest forms of math, so I wouldn't put it back to Jesus, even though he's ridiculously important if you know how to do the math, but most people don't. So that is kind of, what do you call it, a moot point. So Satoshi Nakamoto is probably one of the more highlighted characters of this century because of the importance of, if this works and decentralized money really takes over, we can remove the power that the governments have over society right now, and that is ridiculously valuable. But will we see that? And it's hard to say. It's up to the humans. Money Changer says, what's the smallest amount that you can buy OTC through the website? So if you, basically, it's not through our website. We're not a licensed money changer in any way. We've just created a partnership for express verification for the Arcane Bear family via Caleb and Brown. So if you go to arcanebear.com, services, buying OTC, you click on the link to go to Caleb and Brown. It'll bring you to a partner page. You sign up, you basically KYC with them. The smallest amount, well, it depends. If you want to do a trial transaction, they'll be flexible with you. But they'll do anywhere between 5,000 to hundreds of millions. So it really depends on you, what you're looking to do. If you're interested, just sign up with them and then go through the process of communicating with their private brokers and finding out what best suits you. I think that's probably the best way to go. And at least this way you're learning more about the ecosystem as we grow. Super intelligent thing to do. You can't go wrong with going through that process, signing up with them and learning more. What would be some wisdom you would impart about walking / living the path? Oh God, that's a hard question. Because I don't know. Any advice I would give to you is the advice of a person who's still learning and growing. I've not reached a place where I'm like in perfect happiness all the time or perfect balance. So anything that I can share is sentiments from the fact that I'm still very flawed as a human being, and that I think the recognizing the value of the small things in accordance with nature makes you fucking wealthy. That's it. When I stop and I sit and I watch the flowers sway in the wind, that to me is more valuable than money can ever buy. You cannot buy that level of appreciation and wealth for life. You can only acquire it by focusing your attention and appreciating through fascination, awe, and wonder at life. And that doesn't take any money. That simply takes a practice to say, that's a cool door. Look how cool these doors are. There's like hinges and shit. Like the fact that this like sways on 90-degree angles, like this is ridiculous. Fascination and wonder is not purchased. It is practiced. So that would be my like imparting wisdom right now. Practice fascination, practice being in awe and wonder, and practice loving those things, because it's extremely valuable for everything that you'll do in life. That's my sentiments there. Do you think the markets will crash this next week, like Bitcoin Ben said? I don't listen to Bitcoin Ben at all. I don't, so I wouldn't know, and I don't want to speculate on anything this person would say. The market started crashing 2 weeks ago. So that doesn't make any sense to me. You're telling me that someone is telling you that the markets will crash next week. They've already crashed 2 weeks ago. So that's like me telling you gold will hit $2,000. It's like, or wait, what was its high? I think it was around $2,000. It's like, oh, Bitcoin will hit $2,000. Yeah, it did already. What good does that do? It's just such a blatant blanket statement that has no value. So I don't know what even Bitcoin Ben is trying to get across there. The market's already started crashing. So great, you've told me something the whole world already knows. What do I care? Now the valuable sentiment here is, what does that mean? What does it mean if the global world's markets start crashing? Who cares? They've been crashing since 2001. People just don't know why or how that's been taking place. So it seems like useless information to me. Wolverton Mountain, Merry Christmas. Did I miss another question from Wolverton Mountain up top? I'm not even sure. There's a bunch of questions that roll through here, so it's hard to see them all. Merry Christmas. I love you. I hope you guys are having a fantastic time. I wish I could be there to share Christmas with you guys. I appreciate it. It means the world to me. Do you trade? Says Edward King. Yes, of course. But I consider myself more of an investor. I do swing trading, but more so because swing trading and sometimes day trading, but I do it more as not a hobby, I'll say, but as enjoyment purposes. So for instance, I'll give you an example about what I mean there. So I've been playing around with BitMEX the last while, and this last week, right? So this last week I like made some great trades, like maybe 5 or 6 really good trades in and out over the course of a day. And then I made one bad trade where I fell asleep, wasn't paying attention, didn't set any stop losses because I normally am on top of my trade and I'll close out at a position of loss if I'm going to sleep. And I just because I don't like to lose sleep over anything. I don't want to pay attention and wake up in the middle of the night thinking, oh my God, where's my trade? So anyways, I missed out. I didn't close one, and I wiped out all the profits from a week in one trade. So it's I do it because I love doing it. I'm not doing it to try to make money. I do it because I love the game, if that makes sense. It's the same way why I do any of this. So I trade because I love the game. It's good. Like I've done I've done okay for myself in life. But again, the most important sentiments of value here for me have nothing to do with my portfolio. It has everything to do with the appreciation of the flowers blowing in the wind. And you can't like day trade your way into that unless you day trade your time into practicing presence, practicing awe and wonder and gratefulness. Those are my best sentiments right there. Keep practicing being in wonder of this beautiful universe, even if it means this door is the most fascinating thing right now. This is super cool. Like this simple stuff should be baffling to us because the universe is a goddamn miracle. Let's see. I love this. We're going into an hour and 15 minutes. This is going to be the longest show that we've done all year, ladies and gentlemen. We're just going to keep ranting and chatting with you guys. I deeply appreciate the support. It means a lot to me. It's like having a round table discussion where we all kind of rant. So I'm even gonna get like a kind of a ridiculous comfortable here. We'll just lay down, take a few more questions. We'll kind of leave it off of this because I want to go hit the gym and maybe go for a swim too. When do you think the dollar collapse to start collapsing? Raw power. It will be the last to collapse. So you're going to see other emerging market dollars collapse first. So I would keep my eyes on the emerging markets before I thought any sentiments about the US dollar. You ever play poker? Yeah, but I probably always lose. I'm probably horrible at poker. I play just for fun, so I'm not going to say like I play poker, but I've played poker. Just like I play chess. I usually look to find people that can just destroy me. I'm like, nice, who's going to beat me the quickest in chess? That's who I want to play. Because I'm not good at it. I barely even know the rules for chess. It's never been something I've focused on learning. Serranification says, Ben claims. Well, there's a big sentiment. Ben claims something. He's got top level guys for good info. Yeah, I've heard him say that stuff before. It's a lot of hype and marketing nonsense, in my opinion. I don't think he knows anyone. I don't mean to be downwards on Bitcoin Ben. I don't think he's doing it on purpose. I think he just believes everything that's told to him, sadly, which is not a great thing. It's like, well, I know people that are top level guys. It's like, well, look, like I said, I've said this a few times. I've got friends that have made $1 billion companies. It's like, what's your point? It's like, who are these top level guys you're talking to? And if they're anyone important, what's their names? Tell us who they are. Show me their LinkedIn account. Show me some of their articles on Forbes. I want to know who these people are. Top level guys, they're not afraid from doxing themselves because to get to the top, you are absolutely clear and crystal clean. So that just sounds ridiculous. I think Bitcoin Ben is just whatever. I don't want to sound sound like I'm attacking someone, but I don't think he's I don't want to answer that question any further. I've got to be free and appreciate door frames. Yeah, I know, right? And learning how to appreciate the simple things in life is a very valuable asset to have. Why do you think Bitcoin? What do you think it does to take so long for Bitcoin infrastructure to update? I don't think it needs to update. That's the problem. I think people are all concerned about shit that makes no difference. Arcane Bear says, "How do you feel about Veritasium these days?" You know, Reggie Middleton keeps going out and trying to close these deals, and that's what it takes. Some of this is about marketing it to these big companies, and that's how you're going to win. Because that's what it is. It's about finding a way to market the technology to big banks and to big governments. So if he's out there doing the footwork, I don't see why he won't be successful. So it's not so much what I look. It's not what I feel about Veritasium. It's what I felt about Reggie Middleton. This guy's got a great trading background. He knows how to talk to these guys. So let's see if he can sell it. That's all I can say. The biggest exchanges still don't use SegWit. Yes, some of them do. I'm not sure which ones do or don't. I don't even ask these questions. Trading fees always eat up profits. It's crazy to think how much money has been lost on trading fees. Stupid Binance and their Binance token. They're as bad as the central banks. I mean, this is the problem with just creating a token out of thin air. Sure, there's utility to it, but you're doing the same thing from another standpoint. You're just creating value out of thin air for your own benefit. It's I don't know how morally implicit that is, but there's definitely some gray area there. Tio, what do you think about the Lightning Network? That comes down to the question of what do I think about atomic swaps and the cable of currency and money. I think that's extremely important. But the Lightning Network, specifically, I'm not sure. I'm not like technically versed enough to be able to say anything. From concept, yeah, I think it's important to be able to make atomic swaps between one currency and another, just the same way. One of the thoughts that I would have liked to have gone over with Tone is, okay, well, look, there's all these different languages, all these different currencies, so why not just have a translator? You know, it seems to work great on my phone. I can talk to anyone from around the world now, so why is it out of play to have multiple versions of brands where you get the choice of whatever money you want to use? So Atomic Swaps Lightning Network could be a huge value because now you can have money and currency separately working with smart contracts, and you replace the entire economic system. Maybe Cliff's gone crazy much. I haven't watched any of his videos. Okay, we're going to leave it off with the last few questions here. Nice. I'm just going to jump offline here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to reheat my chai tea here. Enjoy my Christmas. Thank you, Bear Family. Give us those thumbs up. This was the longest episode we have done in the year. I really appreciate it. You guys have become like family to me. The Arcane Bear is such a beautiful community in the Telegram channel. I'm blown away by the conversation that's always taking place there, and how supportive people are, how patient. I've heard numerous times from different people that the Telegram channel, the Arcane Bear Telegram channel, is one of, if not the best in the crypto space, because everyone's so willing to help each other, simply to be there to help one another. There's no like, oh, here, buy this, buy that. Although we are going to open our private Telegram channel for some of the trading stuff. Once I get back home, I'm going to open up the newsletter. I'm going to start doing my trading stuff again, because I believe we're going to find a bottom soon. And when the bottoms are in, that's when the volatility for me is a bit more clearly defined. Right now, it could go either way. Like, it could really just go either way. Like, we could shoot up to $5,200 and then come crashing back down to $1,000. Like, it's great to be playing in the volatility, but I don't want to make any real assertions. What I want to do is aggregate as much content. So that's why we've had Tone Vase, Tyler Jenks. We're going to have Trace Mayer on the show. We're looking at having Brock Pierce on, but there seems to be some gray area because of the other work that we're doing in the background. So I'm not sure if we're going to be able to line that up or not. We'll chat with them, hopefully personally, and see how that goes. Because we're working on something that's very specific for us. Anyways, it's a lot of fun. Thank you, Bear Family. I deeply appreciate all your support. We hope you have a Merry Christmas. We'll definitely see you over a few videos for the course of the New Year's as well. I know I've been kind of sparse with videos, but I'm going to find a home base likely in Thailand for the month, so I can find something to do consistent, find a way to do consistent videos with you guys. And then, more vlogs and stuff like that as well. I definitely know you guys love the podcast. It's one of my favorite things too. So we're working to try to get on more PhDs like Rupert Sheldrake. I've messaged Graham Hancock. I even messaged Ray Kurzweil. I just want to ask these intelligent people questions and learn and grow and aggregate as much information for myself and share it as I possibly can. It's one of my favorite things to do. So if you guys have any suggestions, if you'd like to see anyone on the show that's in any space, I love that. Getting them on the show is not always easy. It definitely takes time and effort. So we do our best to bring on as many guests as possible. So we'll continue to do that. Thank you again one more time. My heart goes out to all the Bear family. I hope that the Christmas and the New Year's season brings you prosperous and wealth-filled times with your family, your loved ones, and the appreciation of the small things, even if it's just a door hinge. This is Tio with the Arcane Bear. See you guys on the other side.